we're not seeing innovation for the sake of innovation within the space necessarily. It all obviously is financially driven at this point. And I think that puts a big bad taste in miners' mouths as well. And, you know, if you're going to do something like that, obviously we can point to Ethereum where, you know, regardless of miners' ethical stances on that or preferences, you know, it comes down to if that crypto is going to be profitable and if it has a wider outreach beyond, you know, the miners themselves. And frankly, that's just not really happening in the space right now. There's some good projects, you know, there's the KY, or I guess it's Quai. If you read the website, I don't know at this point how it's pronounced, but give me a break on that. You have some interesting stuff like Cubic, but Cubic really feels like it's effectively just mining something else in the background and taking advantage of, you know, miners in a weird way there without clear tokenomics. Well, they have clear tokenomics. I should say clear incentives, because it's hard to tell exactly, you know, what the incentives are going to be week to week, month to month, and what those payouts are going to be. It's a little difficult as far as that's concerned. Trying to think of, you have Zealous Hash, which is really interesting. So there are some good projects, but until those break out outside of where they are now, which is in the kind of proof of work insider space, until it breaks out, until one of those breaks out, I don't see GPU mining really getting any sort of innovation on the mining software side of things. You still do have a couple developers. Most of them have fallen away. You get iDoc here every once in a while with BZ Miner. You get Doctor with SRB Miner. And then LOL Miner here and there, but really not a lot of stuff going on, right? And Duke says the incentives are getting scammed. And that has been, you know, the mining strategy from a GPU perspective, unfortunately, and let's be completely honest about what that strategy has been to spec mine all of these forks and dump them on the exchange as soon as they're launched before you have the potential of being scammed by the developer. And that's really all it is, right? Especially with like a lot of these like X11 forks, you know, Dash forks, stuff like that with masternodes. It's like, if you're going to build a masternode, you're basically accepting that you're going to get scammed. So the best thing is to just sell the crypto to someone else who's going to build the masternode and get scammed and hopefully get in early enough to mine it. And outside of that, you know, there's not a lot of good GPU mining strategies at this time, you know, outside of, you know, building solar, reducing power costs, the typical thing, right? The Kaspa forks too, you know, the Kaspa forks are the same strategy, right? John brings up all the Kaspa forks that happened. A lot of that was, you know, mine, dump it onto the market, peace out. And that's kind of like what it is. Now, in a perfect world, that strategy should be perfectly fine, because the idea is that as a miner, you're providing a service. Your goal should never be to hold anyways. You're providing a service for monetary gain, and then you have a market demand that is sufficient enough to support that. And the thing is, the market demand for all of these GPU mineable coins is not there anymore, right? And so it typically ends up in a position, at least from what I can tell, where there's a couple insiders that somehow get pulled into the community, right? And the community convinces them to not only mine the cryptocurrency, but also buy it. And then the smart ones, the miners that are just mining it, sell it to a couple people that become a part of the community of whatever bullshit token it is. And you're really just stripping out and getting rid of miners that way, which I guess at the end of the day is kind of what I said does have to happen for us to have a renaissance, right? Unfortunately, it's survival of the fittest, right? And you're wiping out all of the people dumb enough to become part of a community. I mean, I hate to say it that way because I know like a lot of people get offended by that, but that is effectively what it is. Like you're just getting rid of the people that are getting scammed by these ideas. I think that mine and hold is a bad strategy because of this. Now, I would like to see, because, you know, the flip side of that is the community is going to say, well, the miners are just mining and dumping and it's their fault that all these coins are dumping. Sure, you could say that, but the fact is if there's no demand, there's no demand. Nobody within that line is going to be able to fix that, right? The miners holding, right, which I've seen plenty of times where the miners hold, and they just end up with a bag of zero at the end of the day, or they dump it and the community hold until it's zero. And at the end of the day, miners should be able to mine and dump. Holders should be able to hold and have a demand for it in the future. And that is kind of the hierarchy, right? Like miners influence price in the beginning of a project because they're generating and minting the tokens. That's kind of the stop and go with that. And then the holders hold that for a longer term. The developers create a demand for the project, and then that's where it ends up being, right? And I think that from a business perspective, to not acknowledge that is the case, that frankly, like a lot of the cryptocurrencies in the proof of work space have no demand, to not realize that and to not pay attention to that or to not mention it would be a miss. I think it's really important to at least talk about those things. It's a little ridiculous to just say mine and hold everything. I mean, in some cases, okay, cool, but then you're just playing the lottery, right? Retro says, if you believe in mine and hold, just look at the Electroneum chart. Here, we'll go look at the Electroneum chart for you. Give me a second. This is an old one. Here we go. Well, you want the all-time chart? That's a fantastic strategy. Really, really good. Mine over here and hold all the way to here. I think that's solid. For those just listening, we're looking at a chart that goes from 14 cents to 1.5 tenths of a cent. In case you're wondering. That was good. Mine something says we are miners, it's our job, and that's the way to look at it, right? And it is that, like, your job is to generate revenue, as much revenue as you can, and provide that service to the project. And if that project, you know, doesn't have demand, that's not the miner's fault. That's the way I see it, right? It is what it is. Like, if you have nobody that wants to buy your coin, a miner holding isn't going to help anybody anyways. Duke says holding has been a failing strategy lately. And the thing is, you can only hold. I mean, like I said, holding is gambling. At the end of the day, holding is gambling. I don't, unless, you know, there are the outliers where you have, you know, some ground up cryptocurrency that gets a lot of steam behind it, like Kaspa. But I mean, outside of being extremely intuitive and plugged into everything, you know, those are going to be extremely rare to happen as well, right? You have like what, 1 or 2 per cycle. You don't have a lot of those, especially in the proof of work space, maybe 1 per cycle, right? You don't have, it's not like you have a 10% chance or a 20% chance. It's like you have a 0.1% chance, right? So, I see it. I see mining and holding as gambling personally. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. If you would like to see more from this particular episode, take a look up here. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me directly, you can go to sonofatech.locals.com and become a member. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday.